Hello, this is Spyder Rider Kev out here in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and I'm just coming to you today to chat about navigation and how to do it, how the way I do it, and why I do it the way I do it. And a lot of people will navigate A to B, pick an interstate like I-80, travel 100 miles or 1,000 miles on an interstate, and that gets them to where they want to be. You know, you want to go to a big city, or you want to go to some exotic location, or something that looks like a great feature scenically or otherwise, or a fun park or whatever. And that's, you know, that's great. That's what you do. Me, I'm the road less traveled person. I like to go on the side road. I'll take longer, and I like to find places to stop at, places to look at, things to see along the way. I like to take the less traveled route because generally there's less traffic on it, and you can do, you know, 55 miles an hour league. Quite often the road surfaces are excellent, and it's a beautiful way to travel. You can get into these little townships along the way, and a lot of them have other things to offer. So that's the way I go about it. And what I'm going to show you is my use of a book that I use in particular, which is a Gazetteer. Around about $25 to $30 for an up-to-date copy. Sometimes you can pick up second-hand ones for slightly cheaper. Probably best to go with the up-to-date, but quite honestly, the back roads remain the back roads, and they don't change much. If you pick up one of these, a second-hand one, for most parts, the townships and all that will still be the same. The roads will probably still be the same. They do have a nice system of grading them, and I'll show you that in a minute or two. That makes it very easy to use these Gazetteers. So I've got Gazetteers for all the states around me, and you can look at the back of the Gazetteer, and it breaks the area down into a grid system, and it also tells you inside states which state are the adjoining states, and you might want to buy the ones on all four sides. Now I live right over here at the edge, and you can see I've got Nebraska right beside me, and then I've got Missouri, and then Kansas in this particular area, and then I head out to South Dakota and so on up the top here, and then Illinois and all those sort of ones off to the sides here. So I've got quite a few options, and I'm usually looking at, so I'm based here, so I'm usually looking at a radius somewhere around about this area for a day's ride, and maybe this for a 2-day ride, and so on. And what I do to make life easy is I take my Gazetteer and I divide it up with just a pencil and paper situation. So what I do is I pick the right page, the pages that I want to be on, and for my particular use here I use pages 44 and 45, which have Council Bluffs, Omaha, and on the bottom part of it here, and that leaves me all this top area here to explore, and it's out to about 50-55 miles to the edge here, and about 35-40 miles to the top, and about, I'm going to say 15 miles or so down here to the bottom of this particular set of double pages. If I want the other parts of it, I can turn over and I can find the rest of it. There's the river going up there, and I've got all this section here, and the same at the other end. I've got another page, a double page, which gives me the whole spread that I need. And the first thing I do when I buy one of these is I take a ruler, I work out the scale on the bottom here, and sometimes I just take a strip of wood and I just measure off here this distance here, which will give you a 5 mile from there to there. And if I measure that 5 miles out on a piece of wood and mark it, and then measure another 5 miles and so on, I can have a long strip of wood with a 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45 and 50 just as a rough ruler, or I can use one of these things and read off the actual things. The scales on these don't always match up to exactly what you want. For example, on here, if I measure the 1 inch to the 5 mile marker, it doesn't really match up very well. So that's why I tend to like to use a piece of wood So an easier way to do this is you can use the caliper and you can step off on a piece of wood here. You could actually step off and mark each one like that along the way, so on. Or you can just go down even more easily still. You can take the piece of wood, line it up with the 0 down here, and then mark off the 5, and then move it along, mark off the 10. Now this is not absolute, and it doesn't really matter that it is, because this would be straight line distances, and you're not going to be going straight line distances in most cases. So I'm going to mark along, and each time I mark it, I'm just writing underneath what it is, just for benefit and use later. And as I say, it doesn't have to be totally exact, but there's 20, moving up to 25. And then up to 30. So we've now got 25 marked there. Again, put it back to the 0, mark it again. I get a 30. Now this is just a piece of plywood I had kicking around. You could use an old wooden ruler and use the back of it, where they've got all the indentations and marks on the front. Quite often there's nothing on the back, so you could just turn it over and use that if you wanted to. And if you can get a long wooden one, or you can find a strip of wood somewhere, thinner the better, and you can do this. So 30, now I've got a 35, and on this piece of wood, which is about the same length as a regular ruler, I can probably get to about 40 miles marked off on there. So that'll take me to 40, which is very useful, because now from any one point I can very easily work out where each of these things is going to be. And you may have noticed, if you can see it on the map, there's a series of dashes in circles coming around the map, and I positioned those every 5 miles apart, and I did exactly that with this idea. I placed the end of my stick here where I live, just about, and then I can mark off a 5 mile distance. I've got a 10 mile, I got a 15 roughly, I got a 20 out here, and so on. So as you can see, they're not exact, because when I did this the first time around, I used a simple method. This one's even more accurate, but roughly 30, 40, 35, 40. You can go out the way, you can just move it along obviously and start counting again from 40 if you need much longer. On my double pages over here, my map goes out to about 60 on here. I like to program from one place to the next, and then I put that into my GPS, and I use that as one route, one complete route, and then I'll program from this place where I've stopped along to the next place I intend to stop, and then that'll be my second route, and then I'll program it along to my third place where I intend to stop, and that'll be the third route, and then I'll say program to my fourth, and then down to my fifth, across to my sixth, and back home again. So I've got 7 routes maybe, but I put them in individually, because then I can go directly from one to another one, and anytime I want to go there, I can just simply call up the memory on the GPS and it will take me there. And I'm sure you can do the same if you're using Google Maps or anything like that. So rather than map them all out, it's easier and quicker if you just do individual places and then step from step with a new GPS setting. The other way, if you go around and map them all out and get it to tell you each one as you go through it, that's great if you're going to go through each one in that order. But if you decide to go up to a place like, let's say, here we are with this one down here, it is Nyola. Nyola's on this road, right on the road. Minden's over on this road, and that's fine, they're actually on the road. But if I want to go up to Shelby, now I've got to go right into Shelby, and then if I want to come out of there and go that way, the GPS will want me to go all the way into Shelby and stop at the particular location marker that I've put on my GPS. And if I don't go to that, once I start going down this way, it'll actually keep telling me to go back that way until I go through that particular mark. Whereas if I just put in here Minden to Shelby, it will go just to there, and then when I stop, I start again, and I go, my starting point will be Shelby, and then I can go down to Avoca, and it will plot the route either this way or that way, and I won't have to go back anywhere. It will plot the route, and I will just do the route with no being forced because I didn't go to the exact spot in the center of the town or whatever. So that's just a little tip there when you're doing this sort of stuff with a GPS. I think using the stick and scaling it off, it makes it so much easier, and I've done that for all 3 pages that I use off this particular Gazetteer, and I've done it for the other maps that I use as well. I hope that's a little tip that helps. Okay, so now I'm going to continue with the information about how I plan my route when I go out on my Spyder. But this applies to motorcycles of any kind, trikes, Rikers, Harleys, whatever you've got, or even cars, because the principles are the same for all of it. Now, I've just already explained the use of the Gazetteer, and you might think that's a sort of bit old school and old fashioned, but really you can get a lot of information out of that. You can plot your route, you can find the way you want to go, and with that in mind, you can then look around at some of the small towns or places of interest. Now, obviously, the easiest way to do that is to go on something like Google and do a Google search of that particular area or that particular town, and that will give you some information. You can find out what restaurants there are, if there are any points of interest, historical, scenic, whatever thing you tend to be looking for. I've come across a lot of amazing things out in the local area in these small towns which I wouldn't have found other than riding around or doing advanced research with Google, and Google's got a lot of photos and things like that you can look at, so you can get yourself started that way. Now, once you've got that information, the next step really is to get your GPS out. What I've got here is my Garmin Zumo XT2, and it's a great motorcycle GPS because it's been arranged to have routes and the sort of things that you'll do on a motorbike. It tends to have an extra little bit of information in its programming to allow you to do those extra things. I'll turn it this way so I'm not blocking myself out, but you can use it either way around. I tend to use it this way on a lot on the Spyder, and you can turn it whichever way around you want it. The great thing about it is you can select the level of detail and the type of road you want to go on down to a lot finer detail than you'll find on something like Google Maps. The Garmin has the ability to select what they call adventurous routes, and then you can do a slider which will take you to more adventurous and less adventurous, which basically means more off-road or less off-road. You can also exclude the gravel roads and the interstates and things like that, so you can narrow it down to the type of riding you want. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is take a look at the app that comes along with the Garmin GPS. This works very well with my Garmin Zumo XT2, and this is it here. You just it's called Garmin Tread, so all I got to do to open it is just press it there, and you can see there's a route planner symbol here, this little thing with 2 pins and a zaggy line between them. So if you actually tap on that, it will say tap on the map to begin. Now you can move the map around, you can expand it with your fingers. I'm actually going to look at it down here from Council Bluffs, and the first thing you want to do is tap on the map where you want to begin. So we just take a spot. If you don't like the spot you've chosen, you can move the thing to a particular start place, and obviously it's probably going to be your home, but I'm not using that for obvious reasons. Okay, now once you've got that, you do your start here, and it puts a flag in there. And now at the side here, if you zoom out or in, you can adjust the map so you can see the main roads, and you can also see places to go to. So for example, if I want to go from that map point and I want to go up to, let's say, Woodbine, I can go up there quite easily just by tapping the map. Now you don't have to tap exactly on top of the point. It gives you the option of adding Woodbine as the choice. You can also go to exactly where you've pointed it by hitting the add a stop. So depending which one you pick here, you've got the option. You can also add a shaping point once you've actually got a map laid out, a route laid out, and that can change the shape of the route to allow you to pick some extras. But we'll keep it fairly simple, and I'll just show you how it works. So I'm going to add Woodbine. I knocked it off there, so I'm going to add Woodbine, and now you can see it's put it here, and it's drawn a pink or purple line up to that. I'm going to line from down there all the way up here, if you can see it, and put a flag there. And now if I want to go along somewhere else, let's say I want to go to Harlan, again I can just pick the point and I can go, let's do that again, pick the point, and it now is going to alter my route, so it's taken me up, gone into Woodbine, come back out again, and gone down to Harlan. Say I want to go out to, I don't know, let's pick another place, Brayton, and I can make that as a stop. So I'm going to make it as a stop. I think I'll just put it a little bit closer onto the, there you go, make it as a stop. Now you notice this time when I put it in, it's actually put it off to the side where I actually made the stop. So I don't particularly like that, so I can actually touch it and I can delete that one, and it will take it off again. So now I've got the route from up to Harlan, which we did before, and if I want to go to, I forget which one it was, but we'll pick Hamlin as an example, so I can just get that more accurately on there, like so, and I can add it as a stop, and hopefully this time it'll take me to that point. If it's not right, again, just tap on it, delete it, and then put it back again where you want it. And we'll create a stop just there for whatever. But you can adjust it, you can zoom in and get more accurate. So let me just do that one more time and show you that. So I can delete it, I can zoom in more accurately. Now I can pick where I want to be, and I want to be right there. This is if I want to make a stop. This is not the same as just planning it as a route. So now I've got a stop, and I can put a stop there. So now it's going to put that as a stop point. Now I'm going to zoom back out again, and I've got my route so far, and I'll zoom in again so I can actually just see the places. Let's say I want to go down to Atlantic next, so I'll just pick Atlantic and I'll add that as the next stop. So there we go, and let me go to another spot. I'll just zoom in so I can see them all. I'll go to Trainer, put it right on Trainer, there we go. So add Trainer, and then finally I'm going to take it back home again. So select this stop, duplicate, whatever, blah blah blah. So if I select this stop, that's where it's going to take me. Okay, didn't like that, so let me do that one more time. I'm going to go back to here. Oh, I see why I didn't quite get it on the same spot. Let me just zoom in a bit there. So let's get it right on top of that one. That will do. So yeah, let's put it right there. Let's put duplicate and see what that does. Okay, that looks like it's closed the route. So now I've got a route. Let's just play with it a bit more, and I'm going to zoom out a bit more, and I'm going to just pick another little township somewhere. let's say I want to go out to, let's find somewhere in here. Sometimes there aren't any towns where you want to make a route diversion to, but let's just pick somewhere. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go up here. I'm going to tap on this line here, and where it says select this segment, I'm going to select it. And then once I've selected that, I'm going to pick Persia and insert that as a shaping point. Now you can see it's brought that into the system, so it's taking me out there and then back again. So I've put in a place to go. Now what I've got here so far is I'm going to start at my home base. I'm going to go to Woodbine, to Harlan, to Hamlin, to Atlantic, Trainer, and then back down to close to home. That's good enough. Now you notice at the side here it says go faster time. Well, that's what it's selecting at the moment, but what I actually want to do is I want to go adventure level. I want to go the fastest route on paved roads. I can go fast and adventurous. That'll take me off onto gravel roads, and this will put in some curves and hills, and this will put in curves and hills and extra adventurous. Now you can play with any of these and you can find whichever one you like, but for most of the time on the Spyder I tend to choose this one. So now you see that's changed to adventure level 1, and I'm going to go down the list and I'm going to change them all into adventure level 1, adventure level 1, wind it up, adventure level 1, and adventure level 1. I'm just going to repeat this all the way down through to make them give me a reasonable route without it being too adventurous. I don't want to go on to gravel. So now I've got this sorted out like this, I can then just scroll through this just to make sure I've got them all set to where I want them and I haven't missed any out. And then finally, when I've got it all set up the way I want it, I just go to the top here and I press this save button or save icon. And now I've got a route, and it's calling it May 23rd, 2024 to 29, which is the ending point. And it gives you this particular display here. It tells you how far it was. This is 181 miles. It's going to take 3 hours 30 minutes. It's got elevations, so you can see your rise and fall spots, and you can actually then save it. And what I usually do is save it to collections, and then this year is a new year. You can add a different name for it. You can start a whole new file for it, but I'm going to put it in the 2025 rides. And then finally, I'm going to hit done. So now remember, it's going to be May 23rd, 2024 to 29. I can now share this as a GPX file. So I'll just touch this one down here. And then down along the bottom here, I'm going to come along and I'm going to just go for more, and then come down to tread, and I'm going to turn on my GPS so that it's available. All right, I've got this turned on now. It's just starting up, and I'm now going to send it to 2025 rides. Okay, now we're pretty well finished with this one here. It's these are all the rides that I've saved, and I can go back into any of these ones that I want to use from previous rides, and I can re-ride them, and I don't have to do all this putting back in again. So any ones that I like, I can save and reuse. So that's pretty well finished with the Garmin Tread app. I could have used Route Planner directly on the GPS, and it would have pretty well done the same thing. But I've now actually got it in Explore, and when I tap on Explore, it will now bring up, and you can see that the latest one that I've just put in shows up in this Explore list. And all I've got to do is tap on that, and it will take it in. And there's the whole route now laid out as I did it. You can see the little diversion there down into that one, and you can see the whole route here, hopefully, if it's going to show up. And it's got the distance, 181 miles, 3 hours 35 minutes, and you can list information and so on. But to start it, then I just press go and off it goes, and that's how you do it. It's you can play with it a bit as I did, and you can change things if you don't like it while you're putting it into the Tread app. Just go in there and tap it again, and you can delete the bit you've just done, and you can move around. But remember, the biggest thing, you can zoom in and out on your maps to get the details. So when you're doing all this, you can always zoom, and then you'll be able to get more information, more detail. And obviously the amount of zoom you want is up to you, but you can always zoom it. Even when you're riding, you can alter it, or you can let it do it automatically. But now I know the route, and I like to go in and I actually write down on a piece of paper, a piece of card, I write down all my turn points or stops. So when I'm doing this route, I will actually put in where the flags are, and I will record that, so even if the GPS fails, I can always plug in again and say, okay, I meant to go to Atlantic, or I meant to go to Harlan, or wherever it happens to be. So I can always zoom in and look at where I've hit. There's Trainer. Too small to see when zoomed out, but there. And of course, once you get the GPS working, it just tells you all that stuff as it goes along. So that's it. It's not a bad app. You can do it straight into the GPS, but the advantage of this is I can use my phone to actually create the map while I'm not anywhere near the GPS, and then I can just send it to the GPS, and it's ready to go. So it's another tool that you've got, which makes mapping and planning very easily. And then finally, I'll just show you the other thing that I do on here. I'll just back out of this. What I do, otherwise, I can go to where to, and I can look at my recents, and I can actually pick out a place like Minden, and I can just hit that. It's already been put in, and wherever I am out on a ride, I can go from that point and go to Minden just simply by hitting go, and it will plan the route for me. And then when I get there, I can start again. I can pick a different route. So I'll just pick another one, and it will pick it up, and it will say go, and then you tap go, and it plans the route, and it gives you all the information you need. So it will automatically plan your route for you. And again, you can, this is a slider scale that you can use to actually make the route more adventurous or not. So that's a quite useful thing actually on the GPS. You can just use this slider, and if you put it up, you get the four levels: more adventurous, less adventurous, and I keep it 1. And you got all the distance and all the other information. So that's an extra tool, much as the Treader's got, but it's directly on the GPS. So if you want to put everything directly into the GPS, you can, or you can do it on your phone, and then you can just send it across. I hope that's helpful. So that's the way I do this, and I hope this has helped you learn a little bit about using these various tools, from paper to using your Google Maps, to using Google searches for restaurants and places to eat and places of interest, and then plotting it into your GPS. And finally, I also recommend taking a note of your main stopping places, and maybe the roads that you need to turn in what direction off one main road to another. Just record the number and the turn, Highway 6 onto Highway 2B or whatever it happens to be, and just draw that out on a piece of cardboard, stick it up somewhere where you can see it. And then if your computer, if your GPS crashes or anything like that, you've got that. And I always keep the Gazetteer, in my case the Iowa one normally, I keep a copy of I photograph the pages I use, so that even though I haven't got the Gazetteer with me, I can always bring it up, zoom in, and look at a real map again. But I often carry the full Gazetteer. It's big, but it's actually very easy and useful, and I like the paper things. So it's old school, but it works. It's been used for a long time and proved to be very effective. Once you've powered up the GPS, you can see over here on this side, you've got a track recorder, contact to the phone. You can connect it so it works for group riding. You can do exploration, and it's got the route planner, and you can even play some music through it and stuff like that. So, and then there's various other things you can get to through the settings and the speaker and so on. But mainly you've got where to, and then view the map. So the most useful one for me quite often is the where to button. And this is most useful because you've got the instant go to home at any time. You can press that anywhere you are, and it'll give you a route back to where you consider your home to be. You can put in addresses that are going to be typed in. You can put in recent rides, and I put these in individually from one place to like Mineola or to Minden, and often it's from home, and that doesn't matter. But when I come to these, when I'm out riding, if I'm out riding around and I want to go to Mineola and I'm somewhere else, some other area out there, all I have to do is select the actual place that I've got saved and tell it to go there, and it will plan the route for me, show me the way to get there. And I can do that for any of the routes here, like I've got Trainer and Glenwood and an abandoned railway, a place called Imogen, Hamburg, Missouri Valley, Pisgah, all these places. So they're all saved in there now, and anytime I want to go on those rides or go to those places while I'm out riding, I can just tap on one of these and it will immediately give me the route to that place from where I am at the current time. You can also do that in several other ways. You can also, obviously, you've got categories. If you want to go find things, you can look for attractions or gas stations or restaurants, and as soon as you press one of those, you can plug in what you're looking for in a particular area. So let's just say we're looking for major attractions. So I push this in and it will tell me the local area things that are there. Now, if I'm out in one of the small towns, I can just press this while I'm there, and it will look at the area around where I am, and it will bring up those places to go to. And you can see it brings up some further field ones too, but it will bring up some of the interesting places. You can also do a Google search and put them in that way, art galleries, and you've got a whole list of things that you can go to, bodies of water, museums, and so on. So that's a quite useful function. And lodging, of course, if you want to do an overnight stay or stop, and you've got rest areas. So again, I can just hit that and it'll tell me where the rest areas are. The lodging and so on would be, let me just go back here, the lodging, just tap it. And these are all tappable. I don't do this when I'm riding along. I wait till I stop and then I press them. And then I can pick what sort of lodging I want, and it will bring up whatever hotels, motels, so on are in the area. If you want to do camping, it will bring up that as an option too, and bed and breakfast and so on. So you've got lots of places and lots of information in the GPS to help you, which aren't obviously on a paper map. Right, so the idea of the GPS is that you've got this wonderful tool which will allow you to go where you want to, and then obviously you view map and away you go. You can do the route planner, and this brings you up, and wherever you are, you can do a faster route, a straight line, a shorter route, and you've got another thing here for shaping, so you can actually bend the route and adjust where you want to be on the track that it puts in. So if you want to go along if it shows you going along, say, that road there, but you want to get down into here, you can bend the route and move it down the line and tap it in, and it will use that track. But the big feature here that I like on this particular GPS is this one here. You got the faster, you got the straight line, you got the shorter, but I use the adventure a lot. And with the adventure, it will give you a lot more capability as to what it shows you and what you can do with it. And it's a feature that's well worth having. And you'll find that if you use that, it allows you to organize things. But you must, at the same time, let me just come out of this. You must go into the settings here. Now I've got some updates to put in. It's just a case of pressing the button and making sure it's powered up through the 5-volt C connector on the bottom here, on that side I think it is, and you can keep it charged to make sure it doesn't die on you while you're updating. That's never a good thing. But you can connect to an app called Garmin Tread, and you can do your planning on the phone. Then you can transfer some of that across into the GPS and use that as well, which is another good thing. You can connect it to a wireless headset, and you can connect to a Wi-Fi system, and these are all very useful things to have. So you know, they're there, you've got to do that. But the biggest things down here are these ones that you scroll up for, is the map display. You can set the preferences of what type of setting you want, whether you want to have the track going upwards or you want to have north up or some other setting. You can show your icon on the map, you can change the icon, you can get more detail on the map, which I've dialed up for. You can use a theme for where the style of the map, and you can use waypoint decluttering, which sometimes helps, so you can either use that or not. You've got let me just scroll a bit more. You've got the My Maps, which are the installed maps which you've put in there, so if it starts to lose GPS signals, you've still got those maps. You can set the route preferences as well. Now the route preferences are very good, and you probably use these quite a bit. The Avoidances is one that I use a lot, and you can see here I avoid U-turns, highways, tolls and fees, ferries, carpool lanes, and unpaved roads. That one especially is worth its weight in gold to me, and that's the main reason I got this particular GPS. You can also put in custom avoidances and all sorts of things. You can calculate the mode by how you want to do that as well. So there's lots of extra stuff here which you can get, and you can simulate it while you're at home, do the route. It'll go through it without actually really doing it. You know, it'll do it at home rather than you have to go out and ride it. And you can set your map display, any driver assistance and alerts that you want to find. There's a whole lot of stuff in this particular thing. They're not cheap these days, these GPS, but they are, I think, worth the money. So you've got lots of stuff there, and basically by playing around with it a bit, you've got all sorts of things you can do. There's an owner's manual in here. It does suggest some great rides in your locality. It has a radar setup system. I think you can do some like walkie-talkie type stuff through that one, and if you have a handlebar control, you can make use of that. And then you can get to the route planner here, and you've got your routes there, and track recorder and tracks, power switch, group ride. You've got all sorts of things down here which you might want to set up as well. So just dropped out of those. Let me just go down a bit. So you can put in how far you're likely to go on a tank of fuel, and that way you'll get a warning before you get too low. And the same here, you can actually specify how much fuel you want to have, and it will bring up a warning when you get there. So lots of stuff in here, all worthwhile playing with, and you've got a terrific device for helping you as you ride. Now the downside of a GPS to me is that you are stuck with the route that it chooses, and if it wants to take you down some side road and around the town, it will, and if you don't go down the town and around the route, it will try and send you back again. And I have this problem when if I put in a route that goes to, say, 7 towns at a time, one after the other, and the intersections that I use aren't actually in the middle of the town, it will actually take me to, or want me to go to, the intersection point. And if I don't, as I head off on the new direction, it'll try and take me back to the intersection point. So that's a downside. So you have to ignore that. And that's why I do my individual go to a town, stop, put in the next town, stop, put in the next town, stop, and so on. That to me works a lot better. But you know, to each his own. The GPS, of course, does need a plug-in power, and the Spyder has a GPS connector socket or wiring available on the right hand side panel, the first panel you'll take off, and you can connect to there, and that will automatically switch it off on when you power up, and switch it off when you switch off on your bike on site or on your there. It will automatically switch off when you're on your trike or your motorbike or car, whatever you're in. So it will shut itself down after a short period of time. But it does have its own internal batteries, you can see here, and this one's still running quite happily on that. I charged it up before I started talking, and it's going to go for probably an hour or so, I'm guessing. I don't really use that, but you can see it's got the Bluetooth there, and it's got the internet there, and it's got lots of things. The tread symbol for the Garmin app, fuel places, the temperature outside, and things like that, signal strength. So you've got a lot of information in here. It's a great tool. Is it better than a phone? Yes and no, because a phone, you can, grab it, take it in the restaurant, pull up a lot more information than you can get off one of these. But it does have a lot of information in here, and it is constantly updated. As you saw when I looked at it earlier, it's got an update available for something. So a great extra device. And as I say, I mount mine vertically like this, and when you do, it rolls over into the vertical, and obviously I've got it upside down there, but it will roll into the vertical and display it that way around, which is the way I tend to use it. And then I have my track up so I can just keep it going, and it keeps me looking up the road that I'm going. That's a great advantage. It's the clip mount that it goes onto. You can just press a button on the side and it will release this, so you can take this off and go into your restaurant, cafe, anywhere else that you don't want to leave the GPS hooked on there for security purposes. So that's another good plus. I set mine up above the instrument panel so that when I'm riding I can look at it through the screen almost. I'm looking at the screen and it's almost in my eyesight as I watch the road and things out there. I can glance just a tiny bit down and I can see this display. Another great thing about it is it does tell you what speed you're going at, and it'll tell you the speed limits in a lot of areas, and you can set it up so it will beep at you and things like that if you're exceeding the speed limit, if you want to do that sort of thing. And once again, thank you. If you like this video, do like, subscribe if you haven't already. Please, really do subscribe, and do please hit that like button, the thumbs up one. I know it takes a bit of effort to look down and find it, but it makes a huge difference. It helps score me higher. It will allow YouTube to move me up into a more visible place for people who are looking for the sort of things that I'm producing, mainly rides on a Spyder or a Riker or a three-wheeler like a Harley, or any other motorcycle for that matter, and even cars. And also I've got the rides playlists, I've got a mods and other ideas I have in a playlist, and I've got some other lists which you can access by tapping the icon just below the video. But if you do leave a thumbs up, that's enormous. If you haven't subscribed, that's enormous for me too. Please do subscribe. If I can get above 500 subscribers, then YouTube opens it up even more and more people are able to see it, and I can produce more and more videos. So do that please, and you'll help me along, and I hope you enjoy my rides and come along with me as I produce probably at least one video a week in the coming months once it warms up. So thank you very much. Ride safe, drive safe, stay safe, and enjoy life to the max. This is Spyder Rider Kev. Thanks. Bye.